They say that the only two guarantees in life are death and taxes, but I personally believe in a third. If a video game is popular, people are going to make a Roblox ripoff of it, and one such example is Call of Duty Zombies. But you have to ask if any of the Call of Duty Zombies games on Roblox are even worth playing in the first place. There are too many of these games to talk about them all in one video, but I think 3 is a much more manageable amount. So join me, Tactic Zombies, as we dive right in and see if any of these Call of Duty Zombies games on Roblox are worth your time. First up, we have Michael's Zombies, which is a Zombies fan game on Roblox, first released in late November of 2021, and is made by Kyles45678 and One Job. Michael's has 6 maps at the moment, and to my surprise, all of them are completely original, or at least somewhat original. The only map here that is a complete one-to-one port of a pre-existing map is Derice, aka the Giant, and this makes sense as this was the first map that this game ever had. If you've ever played Derice before, you pretty much know exactly what you're getting here. You know, you turn on the power, you link the 3 teleporters, you buy your perks, you pack a punch, and that's pretty much all the setup there is to worry about here. The Wunderwaffe is the main wonder weapon here, and it's actually the main wonder weapon on every single map in Michael's Zombies, so I'm not going to keep bringing it up with each map, just know it's on all of them. Hellhounds are here as well, both spawning on their own designated round every couple rounds, then also spawning alongside normal zombies, starting on round 16 and then going forward past that point. And on the rounds past round 16, they spawn much more frequently alongside the zombies than they do on any of the official versions of Derice, because in actual versions of Derice, I believe the ratio is for every dozen enemies that you get, one of them will be a Hellhound, or somewhere along those lines. Here, it doesn't really feel like there's anything keeping them in check. You'll get just a ton of dogs, like 5 or 6 of them at a time, even on the normal rounds. And the monkey bombs in Michael's Zombies have been replaced with players, of what they call them, and they're little Roblox characters that make Balloon Boy sounds when you wind them up, and meme screams when they explode, and there's quite a few different variations of these that you can throw, and you know, I kind of think that these are probably based off of developers of the game, or donators, or something along those lines, because there's quite a few different versions you can get, and they're all very unique, and I think that's a really cool touch. I think the Pack-a-Punch camo looks really cool in this map as well, because it's black with a glowing blue crack pattern all across it that reminds me a lot of the Afterlife camo from Black Ops 2, the multiplayer version of Mob of the Dead's Pack-a-Punch camo, which that camo is one of the coolest multiplayer camos in Call of Duty period, so the fact that this is pretty much just that means this is a really standout and really clean looking Pack-a-Punch camo. The only real major change I can even think of is that Pack-a-Punch costs 4,500 points as opposed to the 5,000 that it costs in every other Zombies game, period. Which is a bit of an odd change, but I mean, I'm not going to really argue too much about saving money in this game. My guess is that 500 points got shifted over onto the traps because those cost 1,500 points instead of the 1,000 points that they would cost in other maps. And I really don't have a whole lot else to say. You know, it's Derice. You know, there's not anything really too groundbreaking here, but it is, I think, a really good starting spot for this game, which is what it was, and demonstrates that the developers could make a very solid Roblox version of Call of Duty Zombies. You know, the actual gameplay here is very fun. So I think this is a good place for them to kind of test that and kind of as a proving ground. But now let's move on to their other maps, which are all more original, and I'm way more excited to talk about those ones than this one. Up next is Lighthouse, which is pretty much one of the survival maps of Michael's Zombies. And there are only 3 real areas of this map. There's the outside / little dock area, the ground floor of the little house on the island, and then the second floor of the house on the island. The only setup to be done on the map is there's a little generator that acts as a soul box and needs 50 zombie souls to fill. Once it's all filled up, power turns on and all the perks on the map become active. The perks are just the classic 4, Quick Revive, Juggernog, Speed Cool, and Double Tap, and I forgot to mention it on the Giant, but there's the same 4 classic perks on there as well. There's also a unique melee weapon wall by, an oar instead of a typical Bowie knife, which kind of helps to fit the small, island, secluded lighthouse vibe of the map. The only door you can open up on the map is a door from the outside inside of the house, because normally you have to go in through the side by the dock, but this is like the front door of the house, and it costs 10,000 points, so whether or not you want to open it, it's up to you. I don't know if it messes with trains or anything, but it's there as something you can do if you have the money. And then there is no Pack-a-Punch machine on this map, and to get your weapons Pack-a-Punch, you need to get a Pack-a-Punch drop, which is something that was in a lot of custom Zombies maps way back in the day. And this is kind of cool, because, you know, it makes it a bit more luck dependent, you know, because otherwise it'd be really easy to just get set up really quick. And the Pack-a-Punch camo here is the same as the one on the Giant, but instead of blue, it's gray, which I'm not really as big of a fan of. I think it looks a lot more bland. And that's basically all there is to say about Lighthouse. I think it's a pretty fun, quick burst of gameplay if that's all you're looking for, but if you want a more long-term game, I would go play one of the other maps. There's also one window, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's like a classic one-window challenge map. You know, you've got one window that the zombies will spawn in from, your 4 perks, mystery box, Pack-a-Punch, and that's it. The Pack-a-Punch camo on this map is red, which is kind of cool looking, but then also some of the other guns are pink and make pew-pew sounds, which is cute. And these guns might be like this on other maps, but I never Pack-a-Punch these guns on other maps, so I can't speak about that. Again, this is a super simple one. There's not really any more to it than just the one window, so it's not really my cup of tea, but it's there for anyone who wants something like this, and it can be fun every once in a while, just kind of go on and just chill out, same as Lighthouse. Up next is Undead Nocturne, which is a full reimagining of Nocturne Totem, the first Zombies map. It has the same basic layout, but with a lot more walkways and balconies and hallways connecting the pre-existing parts of the map, plus a couple of completely new rooms up on the third floor of the map. Something cool about this map is that it has a bit of a day-night cycle. Well, not really day-night cycle, but it starts off at daytime, and as you go through and progress through the first couple rounds of the game, it makes its way to nighttime, which really helps set it apart, because a lot of Zombies maps don't have something like this. You know, the closest thing I can think of is Shangri-La, and that's just day or Eclipse mode if you're doing the Easter egg. Something else that's been added is a power switch, and it's a buildable power switch, which are pretty rare in Zombies. And the parts are all across the map, and they're built inside of the spawn room. Once you flip the power switch on, the perks and the traps around the map become active. The perks are just the original 4 plus Mule Kick, and then there's also an Easter egg you can do to unlock Pack-a-Punch, so let's get into that. When you spawn in the Nocturne Totem spawn room, there is now a teleporter pad and control panel that were not there in any other versions of the map. Also added to the map, on the second floor where the grenade wall by used to be, is a wall that is visibly cracked. You need to shoot this wall with a ray gun and it'll break, revealing a secret area containing bouncing betties and a soul box generator just like the one there was on Lighthouse. The soul box requires 150 kills to fill up, and once it's full you can go back to the spawn room and interact with the teleporter to teleport in Pack-a-Punch into the map. The Pack-a-Punch machine is covered in moss and vines and is just generally in a state of disrepair, and this is also reflected in the camo, which is dark green with a brighter green vine glowing camo pattern all across it, and I think it looks really cool. This honestly might be my favorite camo in the entire game. And then there's the boss of the map, the Panzermichael. This is a spoof of the Panzer Soldats who've appeared in many different Call of Duty Zombies maps. And I don't think I've actually mentioned it yet, but Michael is the villain of this game. He's the one who's in control of the zombies, and he is a cat. So it is a cat-controlled mech suit is what the Michael Panzer is. He has a toilet plunger on his one arm to act as like a grappling gun to grab other players and bring them in, and I think a drill on the other arm based off the sound effect it plays when he does get another player grabbed in. Needless to say, the Panzermichael is dangerous, especially with how tight and close quarters of the map Undead Nocturne is. He can wipe your whole team super quickly if you're not careful, so be prepared for when he shows up. The catch is that the Panzermichael will only start spawning in once you've unlocked Pack-a-Punch, so it's like a trade-off. You know, you get access to these way more powerful guns, but now you've got a way more powerful enemy you need to use them on, which there's not a whole lot of bosses and zombies that work like that, so I really like it. The final traditional map to talk about is Michael Barrel, which is a winter/Christmas themed map, which is ironic because apparently it first released in the middle of summer, so that's fun. The map is set in a rundown restaurant, so you've got the street outside, a frozen lake across the street, the actual interior dining area of the restaurant, the kitchens, the bathrooms, and then the roof. The map also has randomized perks, which on a bigger map can be quite annoying, but on a small map like this, it really isn't that big of a deal, and it just helps to kind of spice up each match from one another. There are also huge icicles around the map containing parts and panels that you need access to progress through the map, and these need to be melted with the flamethrower, which you can get from the mystery box. There's a power switch at the back of the map in the kitchen, but the perks require more than just the power to be turned on to be used. They use soul fuses, which are scattered around the map and are charged up at the panels that are found inside of the icicles. Place an empty fuse into one of the panels and fill it up with 7 zombie souls, and then you can place this charged up fuse into any one of the perk machines you want to turn it on. To get Pack-a-Punch, you need to build the zip line harness up on the roof, and then zip line from the roof of the restaurant over to the frozen lake. Once everyone's over at the lake, gather around this totem and you can fight the main boss of the map, the Snow Fella. The Snow Fella is a giant snow golem who launches snowballs at range and uses a pair of nunchucks when he's up close, and he's a pretty tanky boss, but he's not really that big of a problem if you just keep your distance and watch out for those snowballs. Once the fella is down, the Pack-a-Punch machine will spawn in at the lake, and the camo on this map is an ice blue semi-transparent camo, which is a lot like the one from Origins, and I think it looks really clean, but I don't think it looks quite as good as the one from Undead Nocturne. I still personally like the green over this one. Once the Pack-a-Punch is open, you can now set your sights to the other objective of the map, which is escaping. Inside of the spawn room is a crashed helicopter, and once the Snow Fella is felled, all the parts to fix the helicopter will spawn into the map. Simply get all of them and assemble them at the crashed helicopter, and then you can leave the map, a lot like an exfil from Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. There's also a buildable wonder weapon grenade on the map, the Blizzard Matrix, which kind of acts like an ice staff from Origins, because when you throw it, it blows up and it creates like a spinning circle of a blizzard that kills any zombies that enter it. And similar to Lighthouse, there's a unique melee weapon on this map instead of just having a Bowie knife, one that kind of fits with the theme better, and that is a frying pan that can be purchased from inside of the kitchen. And the last thing I want to talk about on Michael Barrel is the mini-boss of the map, Jerome, who's kind of like a pretty cool mix between George Romero and Brutus. He spawns in every couple rounds like Brutus, but he starts off very slow and stalking the players like George, but once his health has been lowered to a certain point, he starts sprinting also like George. He's also a janitor, and he's wearing a boiler suit with the name Jerome clearly on it, and he wields a mop as his main weapon. It would have been really easy for them to just reuse the Panzer on this map, so I think it's pretty cool they designed a different boss who plays completely differently from the Panzer. And the final map in Michael's Zombies that I have to talk about is Joe's Gun Game, which is not a traditional round-based map, as the name implies, it is a gun game map. You need to earn kills to progress your way through the entire roster of guns, and the amount of kills that you need to get to the next gun goes up as you go along, and the zombies spawn infinitely, along with Panzer Michaels every once in a while to spice things up, and this is a really fun, chill map. This was a lot of fun, even on solo, which is how I played it, but I can imagine it can get pretty competitive if you're playing with a group of friends. Obviously, there's no setup whatsoever here, so this is just a fun map to load on if you just literally want to kill zombies, or if you want to get acclimated to the different weapons in the game, maybe. I can see this being a really useful tool, but I think it's really fun. Obviously, I can't really compare it too much to the other maps, because it's a whole different beast altogether, but on its own, I think it's a really fun diversion from the typical zombies round-based formula. The last thing I want to talk about is the customization, because every gun in this game can be customized with attachments that you can buy in an item shop that rotates out daily. You can buy these with emeralds, which are the premium currency of the game, or with coins that you just get from killing zombies, surviving through rounds, etc. These are fine, these do change the stats of the guns a little bit, but you're not at any big disadvantage for not using them. And the big customization ones here are the laser sights on the guns, because they come in pretty much every single different color, and people like to show off. I know I saw people with a rainbow one, they've got orange, purple, red, green, blue, any color that you can think of, they've got a laser sight for that. I think Michael Zombies is an awesome Roblox game. Obviously it isn't quite to the same level as an official Call of Duty Zombies game, but it really doesn't need to be, It has fun with the concept and doesn't really take itself too seriously. I also love that the maps are pretty much, for the most part, all original, because it'd be really easy for them to just have done Roblox versions of pre-existing Zombies maps. Cough, cough, hint, hint. The game also has a bunch of really fun little Easter eggs, especially on Michael Barrel. There's a ton of funny messages in the bathrooms written all over the stalls. You can also eat the yellow snow on Michael Barrel if you're into that kind of thing. Michael Zombies is a great game and a great place to start the video, so let's hope the other two games can keep this level of quality. Up next is Corrupt Zombies, which this one just came out in June and is developed by Axillary Studios, and at the moment it only has 2 maps, Nocturne Toten and 5. Right from the get-go, this game's big goal is to be very Black Ops Cold War-esque. It brings a lot of the new Cold War features to these older maps, like salvage, weapon rarity, kill-based points, etc. The only major Cold War feature that doesn't appear here are field upgrades. And this is where my biggest gripe with the game comes in, out-of-match progression. I'm not a fan of it in Cold War, and I'm also not a fan of it here. Just like in Cold War, you can grind for crystals to upgrade your weapon classes, perks, and ammo mods. This gives you something to grind for in the short term, but once you've upgraded everything, you've completely removed all the difficulty from an already very easy game. While some people might be a fan of this progression, I personally am not, and I just don't jive with it in any game that it's in. As for the actual gameplay itself, it's very smooth, but it takes a long time to load in, at least on Xbox, so the first couple minutes of pretty much every single match were unplayable, and I just had to train zombies waiting for the whole map to finish loading in so I could actually play. Noct, similarly to Michael Zombies' Undead Nocturne, is a bit of a reimagining of the original Nocturne Toten, although much less so than Undead Nocturne was. Once again, the main map is the same, although it's got the tunnel from the spawn room to the mystery box room that Michael Zombies added, and the area above the grenade wall by is also here, although it's got 2 rooms now. First room has absolutely nothing, and you need to turn on power to get into the second. Inside the mystery box room, at the wall that was originally a breakable wall the zombies would break and then climb in through to spawn into the map, there's now a door, and there's now a new area back there, and it's basically just a little storage room with some shelves, and it's maybe a bit of a training area, but it's nothing too spectacular. In the corner of this room is yet another new area, and this is where power is located. This isn't a typical power switch, as it must be assembled, and much like the Civil Protector on Shadows of Evil, it requires 3 glowing fuses from around the map, as well as just a normal switch part that can be found as well. Bring all the parts together, and you will get power. Pack-a-Punch is also accessed in a very similar manner to Michael Zombies, because there's a wall on the second floor that needs to be blown up with an RPG, inside is a teleporter piece, take this teleporter piece to the second story little secret area behind the grenade wall place it on the teleporter pad, Pack-a-Punch will spawn in, it'll be there for 20 seconds, and then there'll be a 5-minute cooldown before you can bring it back in. Bada boom, bada bing, you've got Pack-a-Punch. Perks on the map are Juggernog, Quick Revive, Speed Cola, Stamina, PhD, and Mule Kick, and then the wonder weapons on the map are the Ray Gun and the Thunder Gun. Noct is fine, but it's not really a map that's blowing away anyone to begin with, and this version of Noct feels a little bit derivative of Michael Zombies' Noct during Toten, which I bet there's probably some inspiration there, but overall, it's a fine enough map, but nothing too spectacular. 5 is pretty much just identical to his Black Ops 1 counterpart, but with the Cold War features added in. There's no new added areas except for one hidden Easter egg room, but we'll get to that later. Not even the areas that were added in for Classified, this is just 5. There's the Pentagon Thief, the Winter's Howl, the elevators, everything you know and love about 5 is here. The biggest changes here are the new perks, Stamina and PhD, that have been added, as well as an Easter egg to get an upgraded Winter's Howl. To get the poison upgrade, it's pretty simple. First, you need to turn on power, and then you need to shoot this pot inside of the pig testing room, which will have an audio cassette inside of it. Listen to the tape, and then kill the Pentagon Thief with the Winter's Howl without him stealing it, and you will drop a key. This key unlocks a box inside of the weapons testing room down in the labs, and inside of the box is a key card. Now simply go to Pack-a-Punch, and inside of the Pack-a-Punch room is a door that requires a key card to unlock, and inside of the room behind that door is the poison upgrade for the Winter's Howl. This adds a damage over time poison effect, which is pretty neat. 5 can be a ton of fun, depending on how much you like the original map 5, because this is very faithful to the original, but almost to a fault, because it shares the biggest flaw of the original map, which is the terrible teleporter system. The completely random teleporters can be downright infuriating if you get continuous bad luck on them, and I did the one game I was playing, and it was just not fun at all. Although, on the bright side, there are no Nova Crawlers in this game, so you don't have to worry about them down in the labs at all, which makes that area much more viable to go train and just kind of chill out down there. As for my thoughts on Corrupt Zombies as a whole, I'm a lot more mixed on this one, because objectively it is a very impressive, very well-made game, but I'm just not a big fan of the Cold War changes that it makes. The actual gameplay here, you know, the gunplay and the movement, feels excellent. I just wish there were more maps to play on here, which I know this game just came out, so there's still plenty of room for them to add more content, but at the moment now, it kind of feels a little barren. And the other big thing is that I really hope that in the future, they stray away from just making remakes of older maps and make their own maps as well. Remakes of maps are cool, but at a certain point you have to ask yourself, why should I play the Corrupt Zombies version of these maps over the originals? And at least here you can make the argument that that reason is the Cold War features that have been added into these maps. Corrupt Zombies has a great foundation laid at the moment, and I'm really interested to see where it goes in the future, but I really hope that they start making their own maps, so that the game can stand on its own 2 feet, instead of just being a Roblox version of Call of Duty maps you've already known. Lastly is Recoil Zombies, and this game only has 3 maps, Nocturne Toten, Verrucht, and Kino, and that's pretty much about it. There are different classes you can play as to give you some slight bonuses while you play, as well as some cheat modifiers you can turn on to make the game easier, but aside from those, there are only really 3 substantial changes that are made to any of the maps. Firstly is that Noct and Verrucht have had Pack-a-Punch machines added onto them. Noct's is in the cabinet room on the second story of the map, and then Verrucht's is in the power room at the bottom of the stairs that lead down to a window. The final and biggest change is that on Kino der Toten, the Hellhounds have been replaced with these hazmat suit guys. They're much slower than Hellhounds are, and they don't explode upon death, but they actually emit radiation that damages you when you're in their vicinity, and it's actually a really cool idea for a boss zombie, and I just wish it was in a more original and frankly better game. Other than that, the maps play exactly as you remember them, no new perks, no new areas, just Noct, Kino, and Verrucht on Roblox. I think Recoil Zombies is very underwhelming because it brings nothing new to the table aside from some of the slight changes it makes and the hazmat zombies, which are cool. But again, there's no reason you would want to play these versions of the maps over the actual original ones. So are any of these games even worth playing? I think absolutely they are, because Michael Zombies is a great breath of fresh air if you're bored of some of the same old Zombies maps, because it has a breadth of new maps with some unique features on them. Corrupt Zombies is a fun way to re-experience some classic maps with modern features added in, and then you can just kind of skip out on Recoil Zombies, unless you're really interested in it. I think that one of the big things that makes one of these games worthwhile is just how much unique stuff it can bring to the table and execute well. Because obviously Michael Zombies has unique maps and bosses and just a really fun community around it. Corrupt Zombies, although I'm not a big fan of all the changes it makes, at least has new spins on older maps. But most of the Zombies games on Roblox fall more in line with Recoil Zombies, where they're just kind of rehashing old maps that people like, and not really doing anything special with them. Not that any of those games are bad, let alone Recoil Zombies. It's still a very well-made game, and it's worlds better than anything I could throw together, but just not a lot to incentivize you to go and play them, let alone become a long-term returning player. If you're interested in playing Roblox Zombies games, I would stick to the games like Michael Zombies and Corrupt Zombies, and only play the others if you're super interested, because obviously while I can't speak for every single Roblox Zombies game out there, outside of these handful, the player counts start to get really low, so I don't exactly have the highest of hopes. And as always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already for more content from me. I'd like to apologize for the long gap in time between the last video and this video, but I'm still waiting on that laptop so I can upgrade my setup. But once I get that, again, I'll be rocking and rolling again. I should have just planned in advance better and had a video planned out in the meantime between me talking to the guy to set up actually getting the laptop and me actually getting the laptop. You know, lack of foresight on my end, and I apologize for that. This Friday is also the 1-year anniversary of me posting to the channel, so I'm very excited about that, and my next video I've got planned is a bit of an anniversary project, you know, taking a look at an older game that I played, one of the first that I played on the channel, but with the spin and the style of the newer content that I've been doing recently. So I'm really excited for that, and I hope you'll tune in for that. As always, have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace out and God bless. I'm Tactic Zombies. See you later.